When we're trying to choose how to improve the world, most of us broadly agree on a few core principles. I think most of us would agree that we shouldn't hold prejudices against someone because of where or when they were born. I don't know many people who think it's okay to value people differently based on their race or their gender. Okay, maybe they support the wrong sports team, but every rule has its exceptions. I also think most of us believe it's better to help more people rather than less. I don't know anyone who says it's fine for some people to die, even if it wouldn't cost us anything extra to save them. The problem is that our brains find it hard to translate these common instincts into practice. We have some strong biases that get in the way. Let me give you an example. In 1987, there was an adorable little girl named Jessica who was only 18 months old when she fell down a well. Jessica's plight got wall-to-wall TV coverage, and over $800,000 was donated to her care. Dozens of people came to her rescue, and the story captured America. It even captured the attention of the president, who got to meet her about a year later. Stories like baby Jessica tug at our heartstrings. We can imagine how bad it would be if someone we cared about was stuck down a well. It makes us want to help. Caring for others like this is a great part of being human. We feel good when we do good, and caring for others close to us was key to our species' success. So we developed a morality that we should try to help the people in our group. This morality evolved when we lived in tribes of less than 200. If we drew a circle around everyone that mattered to us, our family, our friends, and even the animals we cared for, the circle didn't need to be very big. We developed an intuitive concern for these people, starting with our family and then maybe stretching to our pets. Lots of people eat meat, but they don't eat their pets unless they're really, really hungry. For tens of thousands of years, this was a feature, not a bug. It helped our tribe stay together. There wasn't much point caring for distant strangers. There just wasn't anything we could do to help them anyway. The problem is that our society has outgrown these intuitions. The number of people that we can influence, for better or for worse, has grown massively. We now have the ability to help thousands or millions of people and to help people on the other side of the world. We can also do things that harm people on the other side of the world, like through war or through environmental damage. I think most of us can appreciate that this harm matters, but our intuition can struggle to keep up. These hardwired shortcuts that our brain used and that worked so well in the past start to cloud our judgment now. We'll talk about our in-group bias, the availability heuristic, scope neglect, and what's called the identifiable victim effect. The story of baby Jessica exemplifies a lot of these. First of all, she was a single identifiable victim. The identifiable victim effect is where we're more likely to help a single person than a larger group. In a classic psychology experiment, charitable donors were asked how much they would give to either a young girl named Rokia, Rokia and her brother, or Rokia and 8 other children like her. As you can see from this graph, the more children in need, the less people donated. This finding has been replicated in dozens of studies. A systematic review of 41 studies found that in general, people donated more for a single victim compared with a larger group. The authors of this review found a few reasons this might be the case. First, people think they'll be able to do more for an individual than for a group. You can lift a single person out of extreme poverty for only $280 a year. But if there were 9 children, it feels less impactful to only feed them for a month or 2. The problem with this shortcut is that the reverse is usually true. We can have more impact by focusing on bigger problems than by focusing on things that only affect a small number of people. When baby Jessica fell down the well, thousands of people donated to help her. Her fund totaled $800,000. Now, most of that money ended up getting lost on the stock market before she actually received it. But it's easy to see why people donated. A cute little girl needed our help. The problem is that there are much bigger problems where we can do a lot more good with the same amount of money. Every minute, a girl like Jessica dies of malaria. In 2020, malaria killed 486,000 children. In the same year that Jessica got access to her trust fund, the Against Malaria Foundation was rated as one of the top global charities. For the money in that trust fund, donors could have saved the lives of 200 baby Jessicas by preventing malaria. That's 400 mums and dads who got to see their baby grow old. So while we feel like we can do more for one person than for a group, the reverse is true. We can save more lives by focusing on bigger problems. It is hard to emotionally connect with a group than an individual. You can kind of look Rokia in the eye and feel a personal connection. As Mother Teresa said, if I look at the mass, I'll never act, but if I look at one, I will. The problem with relying on these emotions is that they can cause us to focus on the people who are more similar to us. This is called in-group bias. Again, this goes against some of the ideals most of us hold. We agree people aren't worth less because of where or when they were born. They're not worthy of less moral status because of the color of their skin. Yet, we tend to feel a stronger emotional pull to help people who are like us. As a result, our intuition towards helping people is stronger for people from our group. This can be ethnic groups, political groups, or even silly groups we've been assigned to for a psychology experiment. In this study of intergroup behavior, people were assigned to groups on the basis of heads or tails. They were given $10 and the opportunity to give some of this to a stranger. They were much more likely to give money to a person in their group. And when they did give money, they gave much more on average. And remember, these were groups that were assigned by a coin toss. The same thing happens across political parties. In this study, people were more likely to give money to their in-group than to someone who was anonymous, and less likely than that to give to someone who supported the other political party. Reviews of these kinds of studies show the pattern is pretty consistent. We're naturally much more pro-social for our in-group than our out-group. Again, this used to make sense. We wanted to protect our family and our tribe. Others might have been a threat. Our in-group was also more likely to reciprocate our goodwill, so we're more likely to be generous to them. But if the goal is increasing our impact rather than reciprocation, we can often do more good if we overcome this bias. I can't speak for all of us, but malaria doesn't affect my in-group. Australia eradicated malaria in 1981. As a result, Australians like me don't really need to think about it affecting my in-group, even if it's one of the most cost-effective ways of helping others. This relates to another one of our biases called the availability heuristic. We make judgments about how big a problem is, not by its statistics, but by how easily it comes to mind. When you don't hear about malaria on the news, you don't think it's that much of a problem. Meanwhile, every horrific shark attack gets plastered all over the news. We might end up thinking it's really dangerous to swim in the ocean alone and at dusk. It even gives me the heebie-jeebies. But our chances of dying from a shark attack are less than 1 in 4 million. Given the statistics, you're more likely to die from fireworks, from catching a train, from getting hit by lightning, or from heart disease, from, not swimming enough. Maybe instead we need a remake of Jaws, but with a mosquito. If we want to focus on the most severe risks, or to help the most people, we need to focus less on what easily comes to mind and focus more on the numbers and statistics. Let's look at Our World in Data, an online publication which covers large global problems from corruption to climate change. If you're trying to improve global health, you might look at the diseases that are most likely to kill kids, stuff like malaria and diarrhea. These kill 500,000 kids each year. If you're trying to improve animal welfare, you might want to look at which animals suffer the most. Even if chickens aren't the cutest animals on the menu, I mean the list. That's the exact thing. When people see chicken, their brain says food, because that's the most available association. What happens if we can put those biases aside? I know chickens can feel pain, and when I look at the numbers, I see billions of them living in pretty dire circumstances. Small ways to help still matter, because sometimes they're easier for us to achieve. But when there are big problems, there are big opportunities to make a difference. Unfortunately, our brains don't respond to numbers in a way that reflects how much we should care. I see 8 billion chickens, and I don't really feel it. Well, if I saw 8 billion actual chickens, I'd probably feel the urge to run. They'd be out for revenge. But seeing statistics like 8 billion chickens doesn't really feel bigger than 8 million chickens. This is what's called scope neglect. You can feel this happening in real time, even for things that do affect us. For example, a 2022 article in Nature Food said that a nuclear war between the US and Russia would kill 500 million people, both from the detonations and from the food crisis afterwards. Now, I just lied to you. The real number was 5 billion people, 10 times higher. But notice how the emotion isn't 10 times worse. In my head, those numbers just feel the same. They're big numbers, even though the risk to all of us just increased by a factor of 10. It's hard to feel the size of numbers, but to make good decisions, we need this scope sensitivity, as it's called. So on one hand, we think of our emotions like a moral compass, telling us how to help others. But as we've seen, this compass is really sensitive to interference that sends us in the wrong direction. A heartfelt story about a single person provides a strong emotional pull. But if we want to have a big impact on the world, we need to notice that pull and also check our GPS. Like a GPS, statistics might be the high-tech solution, and they're more accurate than just relying on our gut. Our gut still matters, But we can use statistics to find out what really needs our help, what really affects a lot of people, what affects them really badly. Numbers can help us know what's really important. If we want to help more people rather than less, and we don't want to discriminate against them because of the basis of where or when they were born, then we really should use numbers to help us decide. If you can help save 200 people for the same price as helping one, that matters, even if we feel more empathy for the one. Without the numbers, we're navigating on a pretty faulty compass, and we could end up pouring millions of dollars down the well and not even having our wishes come true.